we even have this device for the true purist that does want to sync up with the natural sun. It's called Solar Sync. It's a sensor that goes on the roof. It has heating and cooling abilities. So if it's very warm or very cold, snow falls on it, it will melt the snow. It will always get the reading of the color temperature and the intensity, and it will actually adjust the interior lights to match exactly what the exterior light is doing. So truly a solution for a purist.
So this week, we're delighted to have the wonderful Michelle Guss from Crestron. Serendipity, we kind of met you in LA a couple of weeks ago and realized we both live in the same town, so that's exciting, and share a deep connection with Savannah, which is a wellness resort here in Arizona. So Michelle, why don't you give us a bit of your background, where you're from, how long you've lived in Arizona. I know you've been at Crestron a long time, so we'd just love to get a bit of background about you.
Absolutely. So it was wonderful to meet you in LA just a few weeks ago, and I'm so happy to be here. Thank you very much for having me on the podcast today. I have lived in Arizona now for about 5 years, and originally I'm from California. And Arizona has been a place that when I was younger, I lived here for a short time, and I just always loved the desert. There was just some peace about it. And so when my husband and I got married in LA, we kind of wanted to buy a home and start fresh, and it was much easier to do here in Arizona at that time than in Los Angeles. We lived in Manhattan Beach area, so we moved over here, and it's been great. It's been a great decision. And funny enough, I live up in the Cave Creek area, which is very close to Savannah and Carefree, and it is my favorite spa. And I had no idea that the two of you had designed it when I met you. So when I found that out, it just seemed like it was meant to be that we connected, because it is such a special place of healing and restoration. And I just absolutely love the design. I was going to even show you some pictures on my phone I took pictures of everything the first time I went, because it was just so beautiful. It's been a great experience being here in Arizona. And I think for me, wellness in the desert, there's just something about it, a peace that you find. For me, I do a lot of yoga. I've been practicing for over 20 years. And when the pandemic happened, my yoga studio shut down, and they started having yoga outdoors. And I started practicing outdoors, and now I can't practice indoors because I
understand that. That's
love
amazing,
practicing outdoors so much. And it's in a beautiful setting, a desert botanical garden. So you just connect with it and just find such a sense of peace that I think, really can't be found anywhere else. So it's very special.
Very cool. Do you even do it in the middle of winter? And winter here is not winter like other places.
Yes, lots of layers, and find a sunny spot, and it's tolerable. And even in the summertime too, it's true hot yoga. So
that's true. You can't get more natural than that.
Yes, exactly. Yes, I have a personal love for wellness, but professionally, as you know, I work at Crestron Electronics. I'm the vice president of hospitality. And there's such a huge trend that we're seeing with wellness and hospitality. And so it's just great to be able to tie my personal passion for wellness to what I get to do professionally.
That's amazing. Yeah. And that's our passion too, is trying to weave that into the places that we design, and taking it one step further where you can create a space that transforms somebody is the ultimate sort of fulfillment and satisfaction for us. And having technology such as yours in there that, aids in that journey too. Going back to the yoga, is it a daily practice?
It should be.
Okay.
No, it's not. I usually try to practice 2 to 3 times a week, but doesn't always happen. Depends if I'm traveling or not. But yeah, it is regularly, not daily though.
And then, so when you're traveling, does that mean you find it hard to stick to a routine?
Yes, sometimes. I usually try to incorporate some type of wellness. I do better with yoga when I'm in a class environment. because I do get very distracted when I'm trying to do it on my own in a hotel room or even at my own home. Every time, I get in the downward dog position, my dogs run over and think that it's time to play. But yeah, always try to incorporate some type of wellness when I travel, and usually I'm utilizing a gym that's provided by the hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest challenge we see is there's dedicated wellness resorts and destinations that you go to, but it's on the road, isn't it? How do we maintain our routine while on the road, and getting hotels, the right facilities to help aid that? So it's just a continuation of your life at home is a challenge. We've spoken about it before. It goes out the window for me. I don't know what it is about. It's almost like a free pass. I'm traveling, therefore I can eat what I want, drink what I want, and not work out. But I don't know why psychologically for me it does that. I don't know.
It's a challenge. Yeah. I have the same challenge, especially when you're dealing with multiple time zones too, and you're not necessarily sleeping well. You may not have the extra energy to do that. So it is, and I think that there are a lot of hotel properties, I think, that focus on wellness, but for a business traveler, it's usually not the typical hotels that we see for business travel.
That's true. It's certainly becoming more prevalent, though. We know this wellness and well-being is now the buzzword in the industry.
Yep.
And we're seeing Hilton has Tempo, which is sort of wellness focused with their get ready and wind down zone in the bedroom. So they're starting to incorporate that. I think lighting plays a part in that, which is obviously part of your world.
Yeah.
For us, when we're designing hotels, we try and think about simplifying it, with pillar one being sleep. If you get a good night's sleep, then you tend to make better decisions the next day. Maybe you do go to the gym, maybe you do eat correctly.
Absolutely.
As opposed to a late night, maybe too much alcohol, and then everything goes out the window. So I think sleep is priority in a hotel room, and we don't often talk about it.
Yeah, it's so important. And I believe that, one of the ways that technology can help is to enhance the guest's sleep. One of the ways with lighting that we've talked about a little bit, in circadian lighting, using tunable lighting that can actually adjust to the circadian rhythm and help a guest adapt better when you're experiencing jet lag, to really help your body naturally adapt to where you're at. Using lighting as a key element to that is huge.
Do you see hotel owners understanding and requesting that, or does it come from designers understanding the benefits of the circadian rhythm? Where does that demand come from?
I think the demand at its core does come from the guest wanting that. There has been a lot of studies done that guests are actually willing to pay more for a hotel that has wellness amenities. Better sleep amenities is part of that. Comes down to the mattress. Lighting is a key part of that, but many aspects of it. And guests tend to have that expectation in hotels now, especially as more of these wellness technologies and trends have come into the homes. That's really driven it. So we are seeing that the hotel owners are asking for it, but they're asking for it because the guests want it. And they want to kind of have that demand, appeal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. You were touching on the wellness in the home. We're always kind of curious to find out what are the elements that you would say make a real key to provide a wellness home, let's say. What are the key features? And then what do you see translating? Because you mentioned that translate into hospitality as well.
Yeah, so I speak, of course, around the technology aspects of it. And what we see in the home, the biggest trend is the wellness. They even call circadian lighting wellness lighting. That's probably the biggest trend, and that has a lot to do with the fixtures themselves, and having the fixtures be able to change and adapt to offer the warmer temperature lighting and intensity, and of course those cooler, brighter hues of color and intensity as well, based upon the time of day. That's the most requested wellness technology that we have, and it's something that can even be adapted to the actual homeowner's lifestyle. So if you have a doctor, for example, who works in the middle of the night and they want their morning and their circadian curve to start later in the morning, mine would start at 5 a.m., but theirs maybe is going to start at 9 or 10 a.m. They can adjust those curves so that it helps them to adapt, to wake up better, and to be more productive at other times of the day. It can be completely customized to that individual's lifestyle. So it makes a huge difference for them there. But going beyond the lighting, we also see, air quality in the home, a lot of air purification as well. That's a huge key to it. And then overall control just of the temperature. You wouldn't believe what an impact that can make. Having the temperature be able to be automated to where, when that homeowner is sleeping, it's at that optimal level that they like to sleep. The temperature to make you sleep the best, as studied, is 67 degrees.
Yeah, which is really cold for
which is too cold for me
world.
too. Yeah, exactly. So it really is customized, I think, to the homeowner. But those are the types of technologies that we're seeing in the home that have become more requested in the hotel because people are using them in their homes now.
It's interesting. It always used to be that homeowners would look to hotels for inspiration, and that was almost the level you were trying to get to in your home. Now it seems to have started to flip back the other way, where, like you just said, people have those technologies and those modalities in their home, and now they want it to see in a hotel room. So the script has flipped somewhat.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think so much of that was driven through the pandemic when people started doing all of these improvements to their own homes, because that's where they were staying most of the time. And that was really when we saw a big shift, at least in the technology that we provide. And when we started, coming out with things like the tunable fixtures and being able to make those adjustments to a person's customized circadian curve. So yeah, it really made a big difference. And there is an expectation now when a guest stays at a hotel that it has to be as good as their home, if not better, especially in luxury hospitality.
I like the customization part because I always think about circadian rhythm of the natural rhythm. That's like when the sun rises and the sun sets. But with modern day life, we can't always, like you were explaining as well, adjust to the natural sunset and sunrise times. So being able to adjust that and still having your own circadian rhythm, that's probably a bit against nature in a way, like the natural thing, but still somewhat in tune with nature because you're taking cues from it. I think that's interesting, and not everyone has the ability to wake up when the sun rises and vice versa, go to bed when the sun sets. So I like that.
Yeah, it really makes it incredible. And we even have this device for the true purist that does want to sync up with the natural sun. It's called Solar Sync. It's a sensor that goes on the roof. It has heating and cooling ability. So if it's very warm or very cold, snow falls on it, it will melt the snow. It will always get the reading of the color temperature and the intensity, and it will actually adjust the interior lights to match exactly what the exterior light is doing. So truly a solution for a purist, and you can bounce back and forth between your custom or, the true circadian rhythm of, the natural curve of the sunrise and sunset where you are. It's really incredible. And the ability to go back and forth is really revolutionary from a technology perspective.
That does sound fascinating.
Yeah.
I think I'd really like that.
Yeah, I would too. Like our brains are ticking, how do we incorporate it?
I mean, funny enough, it was actually created for one of our commercial clients for their retail stores that they had. They wanted these glass structures, and of course they had to have a solid roof on them, but they wanted the customer to feel like they were outside when they were in their retail space. So it was invented for them, but it found a place in the home when wellness started to pick up and become more of a trend and a need for our customers. So it's really amazing to see how that technology is used in both applications.
Yeah. And the other thing you touched on in terms of wellness and well-being is the thermal comfort. And that's always interesting me because it's often underestimated. And when I studied for the WELL AP exam for the WELL Building Standard, that's one of the big concepts as well. The air, water, nourishment, light, fitness comfort in mind. So the thermal comfort is really important, and it's very personalized, like you were saying as well.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that, even from controlling the thermal comfort, from, having the ease of use of a thermostat or a smart thermostat that can have automation, things are changing, automatically based on the temperature that the client wants it to be at throughout the day, depending upon what they may be doing in their home or in the space. That's one part of it, but then also just taking into consideration the placement of where, the air vents go. Is it going to be blowing, where they're sleeping? Because that can be very disruptive too. All such important things that I'm sure you as designers think about so much when you design that.
I think it's always good to be reminded of, because sometimes you forget the obvious things. I think that's why we always like to talk to experts like you as well, and just remind ourselves, just have that checklist. Let's forget that.
Yeah. One of the other unique things in the home, just beyond the thermal comfort, is what you see visually. And we see this in hospitality a lot too. You're probably noticing this. And in a lot of hospitality spaces and in homes, you have these large TV displays. And in a home environment, TVs are actually in an off state 80% of the time. So you just have this big black hole in the space, right? And so now what we're finding is, there's a lot of companies that provide, even as the Samsung Frame TV provides this automatically, but you can actually have images of nature on these displays that can run when they're not being used, to watch or stream whatever the client wants to watch at the time. And it can just bringing nature, just seeing visual images of nature, it truly can impact the overall wellness of that homeowner or that guest in a hotel. It gives such a sense of calm and peace and happiness. There's been a lot of studies done on it, and it's pretty remarkable the impact that can have. And people also tend to put a lot of distributed audio in spaces too. And when it may not be being used for any specific event that the homeowner may be using it for, just having sounds of nature can be so impactful, as I'm sure you see in a lot of the spaces you design.
Yeah, there's always a lot of talk around biophilia and incorporate that into spaces. And I think we're extremely fortunate living here in Arizona that we have the most amazing, expansive vistas. The sunsets are incredible. We have a lot of sunshine, a lot of blue skies. Doesn't get particularly cold. We know it gets particularly hot at a certain time of years. But it's true. It's how do we incorporate natural light into spaces, and we like to bring as much natural light as we can that's controllable, but then supplement it with things like the circadian rhythm, because even at Savannah, that was something we tried to do in the spa in the Terme, was take that central building. It was very locked in. It was kind of landlocked by all the rooms around it. How do we get natural light in there? And then if we could actually follow the rhythm of the sun within the space. Unfortunately, that technology didn't make it into the project, but I think it's really important, especially when you're, we always think of office workers spending 8 or 9 hours in an office all day, just locked in with no views in a cubicle under fluorescent lighting. It's, it's not good for your mental health in my mind. Yeah. Yeah,
it makes such a huge impact.
Yeah.
I mean, that's obviously luckily changing to the office environment.
Yeah.
To get away from the cubicle fluorescent light setting.
So let's go back to circadian rhythm, because I think it's a big one. What do you have a way of measuring people's feedback, or are you getting anybody come back to you and say, this is really making a difference to guest experiences, and we're getting this feedback?
So we're not getting it directly as a manufacturer, and that's because typically, when these projects go in, they're going in through our partners. But we do get a lot of feedback from our companies that are wellness consultants. Under a Tree is one of them, and they've done a number of studies and received feedback from their customers on overall satisfaction of having those types of features on a property. And it does show in the revenue for the hotel, of course, get return guests, and just overall, positive feedback that it can create wellness. And then there, of course, are tons of studies. We partner with a company called Delos, which Delos is a wellness organization that creates all kinds of different wellness solutions, and we tie their technology directly into ours. I'm sure you've heard of them through the Well Institute. Yes, exactly. And so they do a number of studies as well on all of this, and it does definitely show that it helps to increase wellness.
Yeah, Dr. Andrew Huberman always talks about natural light being so important. It regulates your sleep by getting natural light into your eyes first thing in the morning. So he advocates 10 minutes in the morning going out and not staring at the sun, but not without sunglasses on, getting bright natural light into your eyes. And then that actually helps your sleep performance for the next couple of days. So it really is, the science is there, which I think is interesting. It's not just a gimmick, selling technology and ticking a box. So it's fascinating.
It really is. And one of the things, just again, tying these key topics back to the technology, that I'm dealing with daily, one of the other ways to control the light, the natural light in a home or in a hospitality environment or even in a corporate building, is through motorized window coverings. That is so huge. And so by being able to, of course, not only receive the benefits of natural light, turning off some of that electric interior light throughout the day for energy savings, of course, but then also just for overall well-being of the people in that space, can be so impactful. And then, of course, during those times when you might want to protect the furnishings in a space, have more sustainability for the materials used, being able to put shades down that can provide light filtering to kind of have it be that perfect amount of natural light coming into a space. That can be a great feature too.
There's a big one here in Arizona with that, the heat gain through the sun here, and especially with unoccupied rooms, if you're able to have a sensor that the room's unoccupied, the shades come down, and it therefore regulates how much air you're putting into the room. And like I said, it's a big deal for us protecting, furniture. You got a wooden piece of furniture that sits in a window, it can very quickly get sun bleached. So.
Oh yeah, it has such an impact on sustainability and overall energy savings as well. Yeah, the reduction of solar heat gain with the motorized window coverings is a great feature that we see requested on almost every project.
So touching on that broadly, sort of in your world of hospitality, we've touched on lighting controls, you just mentioned shades. What other technologies are your company putting into hotel rooms, and do you see anything else that's kind of emerging trends coming along?
Yeah, so of course, the lighting control, motorized shades, HVAC control, and then overall control of the displays. And if in some cases we are seeing audio, so we also provide the audio speakers, amplification, et cetera, tying that all together. So if you're having a hotel that is wanting to feature, true wellness, having that room kind of come to life when a guest enters and have, a beautiful welcome message on the display, lovely nature sounds over the speakers, opening those motorized shades and having those light levels be to the perfect level for the welcome is really where, we shine and can provide an amazing solution. Some of the newer trends that we're seeing, it has a lot to do with the overall design of the room and how the room might be utilized, because you may have some guests that want to use the room for, working out or use the room for working in the space. We're starting to see a unique trend that's coming with some of the larger brands that has not hit the mainstream yet, but actually having furniture in a space that is motorized and changes and adapts to what the guest wants to use the space for. We wouldn't necessarily provide that technology, but we would integrate with it to where the same keypad that they're controlling the lights and the shades, they could hit, that workout button and it would change and evolve the space. So that's a big future trend that we've been asked about a lot of times, but and I know it's in a few labs and being studied right now, but really kind of a revolutionary cool thing that you might be seeing very soon.
Yeah, I mean, the adjustability of furniture is really important because,
Yes.
like you're saying, in the evening you might have dinner at a table, but then you might want to do some work at it, or you don't want it to look like a work table. It's got to go lower and you want to lounge. So I think that motorization of the furniture is interesting, and how that can be added and not being one other thing to think about. If it's got to be very easy to adjust, but I think that adjustability is really important.
Yeah.
And you touched on as well the room being used for different functions, and we kind of all know how much the work environment has changed a lot through the pandemic. There's a lot more flexibility on how you work, when you work, where you work. So is there anything that you've seen on kind of emerging trends from the office environment that filter into the hotel rooms in terms of technology or being able to work or facilitate meetings?
Yeah, we are seeing, in that trend of the motorized furnishings, we are seeing that, people want to have a space in their hotel where they can work and join a virtual call, because that's part of, I'm sure, everyone's day now, to where they don't necessarily have their hotel bed right behind them in the background. So, of course, placement of that and being able to have, furniture that can adapt to that type of a need is huge, but taking it a step further to the technology side of things, when a guest may want to very easily join a meeting and maybe they don't want to be tied to their laptop, they want to use a display, they want to use a sound bar that has an integrated camera in it. So it's just a much better experience with joining that call or participating in that meeting remotely. We're seeing a lot of our products being used in that application, and in a hotel environment, it's very unique because you don't know what the guest is going to bring, what they're going to want to connect to that system. So we've got some great, what we call BYOD, bring your own device, solutions that someone can very easily, connect to the technology that's provided in a room or in a public space in a hotel, and it just makes it a great experience for them.
You just mentioned ease of connectivity.
Yes.
That's one thing we hear from ownership or guest feedback, is that whatever technology that goes into a room, it needs to be really easy to operate and intuitive, really. So you haven't got to, have a degree in technology to work out how to switch the lights on and off. So is that something that you try and simplify through the Crestron systems?
That is the core thing that we strive towards with everything that we design and every project that we're on. Technology, if it's not done right and it's not done well, it can become a point of frustration for a guest. And just like, the bring your own device concept, you don't know the level of what we call a technical IQ that someone might have when they come to a hotel space. And you really need to have something that's simple to use, that's adaptable. We kind of have these, a younger generation that wants to use their mobile device for everything in their room. And then you might have, another generation or group that does not want to use that. They want to pick up the phone and make a call. They want to push a button and have things happen, have that tactile feel. So we have to be able to adapt and create solutions for all of those guests and align with, the hotel's core values of what they want to provide. So simplicity is huge, and we absolutely make that a part of every design that we do.
And then moving out of the hotel room, what are you seeing in public spaces? Either it's gathering areas, restaurants, lobbies, but then into meeting spaces or ballrooms. How's your technology flowing into those spaces?
Yeah, so with Crestron, we're a very unique company that we provide solutions for the entire hotel, top to bottom. So in those different spaces that you just mentioned, you can really find us in every aspect of it. But let's start when you walk into a hotel. You have a lobby. You hear so much about these hotels. They have to be a destination. It has to be an experience now. People want to have that experience. So we're seeing a lot of what we call our NVX, our video distribution, in those types of spaces to create an environment using video displays in some cases. It really can transform a space, transform a design, whatever you may want to have come to life. And in a wellness capacity, I mean, it can be a waterfall. You can hear the sounds and see it coming down a video wall. It's just absolutely remarkable. But a lot of the audio and video side of things, lighting control in all of those spaces in the hotel too, motorized window coverings, and making it an environment where the operator can easily control all of that technology, because they're in the day-to-day of the hotel. They need to be able to have all of those systems work seamlessly and simply. And that is huge. We accomplish that through providing, a single pane of glass dashboard that allows an operator to be able to control all of the technology in the entire hotel, essentially. So it just makes it really easy. And then automating everything, of course. Another big place where we're finding things is going to be in those meeting rooms and ballrooms. And again, continuing that theme of creating these environments where people might need to come together and have a meeting in a space that can be transformed and be able to have technology that can connect to any device that group is going to bring to the table, and connect in a way that is easy to use. And that's going to be from the cameras to the speakers to all the touchscreen devices that you use to connect and control.
I think technology can help, especially in ballrooms. We always have a bit of an issue with ballrooms. We go to a lot of events, we go to a lot of inspirational talks, but often they're housed in a fairly mundane ballroom, unfortunately. And you could be anywhere in the world, and yet we travel all around the United States to some beautiful places. But for that 8 hours of the day, we're typically in a cold, no natural light, generic ballroom. And you're listening to somebody give an inspirational talk, but you're not in an inspirational environment. So I think I keep saying it's kind of part of my mission to help redesign the ballroom. And it's challenging because we know it has to be, for want of a better word, kind of beige, because it has to cater to so many different types of events, from guest speakers to weddings and parties, etc. So it'd be interesting to see how technology can help. And I think the biggest one, keeping it typically lit by artificial light, so you can control that if you're doing a presentation. So having daylight streaming in doesn't help with that, but not having any views out or a sense of place has always been a bit of a challenge for me.
Yeah, it is something that I see. Obviously newly designed ballrooms, and then we have a lot that have existing product that has been in there for years. And I love your mission. I think it does need to be changed. It really does. And the lighting can have such a huge impact on that. The HVAC control in those spaces, typically, we might tie in through, it's called backnet technology, to control the HVAC in the large public spaces, because that is, a true, industrial HVAC system that we don't make a thermostat for. But right. But it really can change the whole feel of spending time in that space. And I think the industry does need that change.
Yeah.
We could do it with lighting and put some cool video walls and transform the whole thing.
Yeah, I like it.
And then just you touched then to sort of the back of house systems of a hotel. So do you have any metrics where you can demonstrate through tying into BMS that, you're going to have these energy savings, touching back on the automated blinds, or, the occupancy sensors where somebody vacates a room and you're now controlling the HVAC and lighting? Are there metrics to measure that to justify the extra capital?
Yes, absolutely. So a lot of the hotel properties, they are interested in, of course, the energy savings of these, for sustainability, of course, as well. And so all of our systems, they do have that monitoring component. And we basically can tie in the data for wherever that particular property is located to measure their usage of energy and be able to provide reports and documentation that shows the improvement in energy consumption when you do have the technology in place to automate things, because that's really where it comes in. When things are happening automatically, you start to rely on humans to make all of those changes throughout the day. We tend to find that it's not as efficient as that automation piece. So there's a lot of general data, but really these the hotel properties, they like to have this ability to be able to see that energy monitoring at their fingertips and be able to make changes and adjustments so that they're able to see real-time benefits from making those changes. So even just adjusting the temperature when a guest room is not in use by adjusting it to be 3 degrees warmer, it can save substantial amounts of energy when it's not in use by a guest. And again, I'm saying that in an environment where you would need to cool it, right. But it might be the opposite if it's a cooler environment. But yeah, that's a huge piece, is that they need to be able to see that data, and we provide dashboards for that. There's a lot of third-party partners out there as well that can provide some very sophisticated metrics on every device in the hotel property beyond what Crestron might manufacture, things like water metering as well, detecting if there is any leak so that can very quickly be addressed, and you're able again to mitigate any damage or additional costs with that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I think there's always a challenge that we're looking into new build versus an existing property. That's always where it's really interesting with technology. Some integration is much easier when you do a new build, and from scratch you kind of think about all those systems. And then when you have an existing property, and we work on one locally that's a very historic property as well. And there's always the debate of how far do you go with technology to make it, like you're saying, more sustainable or saving on costs, but to not make it too modern, so it's kind of still feels like the era is intact. So that's always an interesting debate that we have on when the property was built, or if it's a new build or a renovation. So I don't know if you're seeing any differences on that.
Yeah, we are seeing right now a lot of properties are renovating versus building new. There's still new properties being built, but we are seeing a lot of investment in renovation. And a lot of these properties want to incorporate, modern technology to be able to have sustainability in a historic property like you're referring to. You might want to keep the design of the technical elements to kind of match that period, and then you get the benefit of the back end monitoring of that usage. But there are so many design options of what you would see in a space that would show that it's technology that can kind of make it adapt to a specific, historical look or design element that you're looking for, using different types of materials versus, the traditional plastic, for example, different metals that might blend with that particular design in that space. And then you still have, even though it might have a beautiful design that blends better, it doesn't stand out that there's all of this tech in the space, it can still do all of the monitoring, and the hotel property can get all of the benefits of the technology too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the spaces I would love the most is when you don't see the technology and it just serves in the background like the silent helper to make the space even more beautiful, but you don't see it. It's just it's like a service in the background there for you.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
And that's when it's done really well.
Yeah.
It should be in the background.
Yeah.
It should not be at the forefront. The forefront should be the design that you're putting together, and getting that overall feeling of a space, whether you're conveying wellness, like in Savannah, which is just you walk in and you just feel well. I wouldn't be thinking about the lighting is a certain way, or this technology is on the back end, or the audio. You just kind of feel immersed in that environment you've designed, but it's all playing a part in giving you that feeling when you walk into the space.
So tying it a bit back to sort of wellness now, I think we discovered that the technology that Crestron can help with wellness, it can help with sustainability. It's got positive financial impacts for the owners or operators. Talking about you, and we think about wellness as something where you're being fulfilled or you have a purpose in life. I always think is kind of the cornerstone, because it makes all decisions from there. You've been with Crestron since 2007. What is it about Crestron or your role that excites you and has kept you at the company for so long?
Yeah, it's a great question. Crestron is an amazing company. The culture is great. I have seen it evolve tremendously over the years, and I think for me, on a very personal level, I came to the company not really knowing really what it did. I actually, this is perfect for this conversation we're having today. I was out of college and I was in the mortgage industry. I was laid off because, this was during the big housing crash era, and I was going to yoga. And one of my friends at yoga class worked for Crestron and said, "Oh, we're opening an office. You should come and work for us." And that is how I ended up at Crestron, through yoga, which is just amazing.
That was totally that's why it lasted, or it's lasting so long.
I know, I guess so.
Started on the right foot.
Yeah, and so I didn't really know much about it, and I remember I started attending some of our trade show events, and Crestron is based in Rockley, New Jersey. So in a satellite office, you can't really tell the size of Crestron and really what it is. All of our R&D, manufacturing first run, all is done in Rockley, New Jersey on a very large campus. So I was in a satellite office. I didn't know. I just thought I was working for this small technology company. And I went to our first trade show, and I saw all of the things that we do, and I actually did really fall in love with it. And from there, I wasn't in a customer-facing role at the company at the time. I was actually running the office, and I started just kind of finding my way through bridging this gap between the technology and the design industry. And it came from a personal passion for design that I had, that really created this niche. A lot of people in technology and engineers can speak very intelligently at a very deep technical level, but there was kind of this lack of being able to bridge that gap. And the technology was always thought of late in the process, and it was always difficult to integrate, but really we should be having conversations with designers early on and using the technology to enhance your design, not having this AV contractor come in and conflict with everything that you had a vision for. So I kind of found that niche, and then my career just evolved from there, and Crestron, never held me back. I wanted to do new things and kind of push the norm of what we did, and they've been a great supportive company ever since, and it's incredible. Yesterday was International Women's Day, and they did a great video with a lot of the women in our company, and it's been great to see how we've evolved and just have always supported the growth.
Yeah, that's really great to hear. I really love that backstory. Not just a great product, but also a great company that supports ambitious women.
Yes.
I'm all for that.
Yes, yeah, it's been great, and the company has grown. When I started with the company, it was much, much smaller at the time. Still a large organization, but now we're a global company. It's been great to be a part of all that.
Very cool.
And I get to meet wonderful people like you.
Well, thank you.
Wonderful.
We love this industry, and as you know, both of us are from Europe, and we don't really have family here. And the hospitality industry has become our family away from home, really. And we meet so many wonderful people. Everybody has this shared passion. Everyone's so warm. I can probably count on one hand the amount of people that I've not aligned with, and it's given how many people there are that you come across, it's pretty phenomenal that there's just this shared passion and everyone wants to help each other. You mentioned earlier that, you know, you speak with your competitors regularly. Everybody's got a shared goal, and we do too. There's enough to go around for everybody, and if we can all help each other, then at the end of the day, it's a better product for the guest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all really about collaboration, like we're saying from our end. It takes so much. It takes really a team, not just our internal team, external team, suppliers, vendors, manufacturers, to really bring a project to life and to have it thought through start to finish. It's a lot of moving parts. So that's
I mean, it's so important that everyone works together on that, because it is one of those things that if, you know, you're thinking about things like technology and that comes in late, it really can create a lot of friction. Whereas if it's thought of early and collaboration is present, it makes the projects go so much more smoothly and makes the overall, you know, guest, owner, everyone involved so much happier.
Absolutely. Well, bringing it back full circle, just sort of indulge us on Savannah for a second, because we don't really get to speak to people that are guests, I guess. So I'd love to know what it is about that property or experience there that makes you want to keep going back.
Well, I have to say, I visited the property before they did the renovation to the spa, and then visited after. And when I went back after, which was after your design had taken place, I mean, from the moment that you walk through the, I'm drawing a blank on the word, the circular area before you're even in the building.
The courtyard?
Courtyard,
yeah,
thank
with
you.
the medicine wheel before the spa,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. From that moment, it just kind of takes you to a place where at least I personally feel so much peace and relaxation. I travel a lot in my role, and so it's important to have that balance. When I'm home, I need to have that time to regenerate my energy and just to feel calm and a little bit more quiet. And I feel that from the moment that I walk into that courtyard. And of course, all of the spaces throughout the entire property are just kind of magical in a way. All of the natural elements that you used with the different rock structures and the crystals everywhere is just remarkable. It's such an amazing, beautiful, natural thing to have as a focus of the design. And I also love the room with the different pools where you kind of go from the hot, cold, steam room. I think you start with the steam and then you dump the bucket on your head.
The ice bucket,
the ice bucket.
It's really good for hot cold therapy. And what's nice is it's an addition to the treatments. Like beforehand, you do that to kind of ease in and relax. Because sometimes when you turn up to a spa and you just don't do anything beforehand, you just jump straight into your massage. It kind of prepares the body.
Exactly.
And that's a really nice way of easing into it.
Yeah, it really makes a huge difference than other spas where you don't have that type of a space. And even the exterior space by the pool where you can kind of just look out and see the natural desert preparing to have a treatment, it makes it so much better.
Yeah.
Being able to enjoy that.
Thank you for the compliment.
Yeah.
And the room, what's the room outside of the, right outside of the locker room that has all the crystals on the wall?
Yeah, just the ladies' relaxation lounge.
Yes,
yeah.
My girlfriends and I just sit in there and enjoy that space too.
We have a small version of the crystal ball in our office, which you've seen,
I noticed it right when I walked in.
One thing that I got really excited about when you were talking about how you were feeling walking through the medicine wheel, like the courtyard before the spa, and then thinking back how you were saying how technology is integrated in a way that you integrate technology it's not seen, but it's felt by guests. What we work a lot with is energies, like space energies in the ground, sacred geometry. So elements like that we're creating because we want people to not visually be just pleased, but feel that energy as well. So for you saying that you actually had that experience makes me really excited, because I feel like that's where our magic in the background works. People don't know about it, but it's kind of how you integrate it.
Exactly. It's exactly right. And you just feel it.
Yeah. That's great to hear.
I felt it.
Good.
So did my friends.
Well, this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you for sharing your, personal background and all the wonderful technology that Crestron does and helping people on their wellness journeys. That's what we're all about. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having
exciting
me.
to
It's
talk to
been
you
great.
Cool.
Thank you.
Great.
Thanks so